Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. It's Mrs. Smith here. Happy almost Friday. I hope you had a fun time working on your Unit 1 to 4 review packet. So hopefully this brought back some fun, exciting memories. But we're going to go through it. And again, you don't have to listen to every problem. Just if you had trouble with something, you can go back and listen to the explanation. So the first line, they want you to write an equation of the line that has a slope of 3 and a y-intercept of -2. Okay, so this one should hopefully be pretty easy because we know it should be in the form y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope. So we're just going to plug that in. And then b is your y-intercept. So you can put plus -2 or -2. So that would give an answer of 2 here. Okay, so in number 2, they're saying if point P has a coordinate of AB, so let's look at that first. So that would be the coordinate 2, 3. Okay, which point has coordinate -b? So -b would be -3, and then a, and a is 2. Okay, so if we then look at that point, -3, 2 would be b. So that would also be 2. Okay, so number 3, they're saying what's the answer here, basically. So we're going to subtract 1/2 x from both sides to get 3 is less than 1.5x minus 6. And then we're going to add 6 to both sides to get 9 is less than, I'm going to write this as 3/2 x so that I can multiply by the reciprocal. You could also just divide by 3/2 on your calculator, but that would, ruin the fun. So if we simplify like this, we're going to get 6 is less than x, so x is greater than 6. Okay, so that would give us 4. Number 4 is giving you a line in standard form, and they want, if you look at all the answers, the slope and the y-intercept. So again, we're going to have to change that into slope-intercept form to identify those things. So if we take our line in standard form, we're going to subtract the 3x to start getting it in slope-intercept form. Make sure you bring down the -2y. Okay, and we're going to divide everything by a -2. So we just have to make sure that when we do that, -3 divided by -2 is a positive 3/2 x. And then 12 divided by -2 is -6. Okay, so slope of 3/2 and y-intercept of -6. Okay, for number 5, we have to remember here it's an absolute value inequality. And whenever we see absolute value, we know we're going to break it into 2. Okay, so our first one, 2x plus 3 is greater than 7. So exactly the same. And then it's or, right? Great or. So or 2x plus 3, we're going to flip the sign and make it a -7. So we're going to solve each of these to get our 2 answers, and then we're going to match that to the graph. So we have x is greater than 2, or we're going to get x is less than -5. Okay, so if we look at our graphs, here it is, number 2, right? X is less than -5, or x is greater than 2. Okay, so automatically from the problem, since it's an or, we also could have gotten rid of 1 and 4 since those are and graphs. All right, number 6. So which ordered pair is a solution for the system of equations, which means it has to work for both of them. So right away, if they're saying y is equal to x, we know y and x have to be the same. So we can get rid of number 2 there. We know that's not going to work. So then we have to go on to the next equation since everything would work for that first equation. So if we look at plugging this in, -2 squared, remember we'd have to plug that in parentheses. So it'd be 4 minus 2, which does not equal -2. So we know it's not going to be 1. If we do 0, 0, we're going to get 0 squared, which is 0, minus 2. So obviously 0 does not equal negative 2. So it's got to be 4 here, but let's just double check it. So 2 equals 2 squared, which is 4, minus 2, and that's obviously going to work out. All right, so number 7, which equation represents a line that's parallel? Okay, so we know for parallel lines, we have to remember that they have the same slope. Okay, so our slope has to be negative 4. And that's all we actually need for this problem, because if you look at all of the slopes here, the only one that has negative 4 for the slope is number 1. Okay, number 8, what's the slope of the line? So we have to do our y2 minus y1 equals x2 minus x1. So we're going to do negative 4 minus 1 over 4 minus negative 6. Okay, so that gives me a negative 5 over 10, which gives me a negative 1/2. Okay, so that's going to give me 3 there for my answer. And you could have switched your points around there too. If you had done, 1 minus negative 4, you would have had to have done negative 6 minus 4 on the bottom. Number 9, okay, so they're basically just asking us to represent the height of the students that was 155 centimeters, and the height of the tallest student was 190 centimeters. Okay, so shortest and tallest, which means it has to include those values. So that's going to have to be number 2 here. So the height has to be greater than or equal to 155 or less than or equal to 190. For number 10, we're just solving that equation. So we can subtract 2p from both sides here. I probably should have done that over here. So 3p minus 1 equals 20. Add 1 and get 3p equals 21. So we're going to get p is equal to 7. Okay, number 11, Mrs. Smith wrote 8 less than. So as soon as you see 8 less than, we need to make sure we know we're subtracting 8 from something. Okay, so don't do 8 minus, right? So subtract 8 from something. So 8 less than 3 times a number. So 3 times a number is greater than 15. So that would give me number 1. Okay, number 2 or 12, which value of x is in the solution set? Okay, so first we could figure out what our answer would be here. So negative 4x is greater than 8. And then here, make sure you remember you have to flip your inequality sign since we divided by that negative. Okay, so x is less than negative 2, which means that our answer has to be true for that. So negative 2 is not less than negative 2. 2 is not less than negative 2. 3 is not less than negative 2. Negative 4 is less than negative 2. Okay, you also could have gone through and plugged those values in, but that would have taken a little bit more time. 13, which equation represents a line parallel to the x-axis? Okay, so for this one, we have to remember that the x-axis, right, is horizontal. So if it's horizontal, that means we need another horizontal line for it to be parallel. So now we have to remember, if we want to graph a horizontal line, it always has to be y equals a constant. Okay, so remember, if it's x equals a number, that gives you a vertical line. If it's y equals a constant number, that gives you that horizontal line. So it has to be 2 here. Y equals 10 would also give us a horizontal line, which would then be parallel to the x-axis. All right, so the last one here was an open-ended problem. Okay, so they give you this chart, and they say when Hector's family is 84 miles from home. Okay, so that means after 0 hours, because that's where they're starting it, he's 84 miles from home. That's when he begins recording the distance in miles on the table. Okay, so first they want us to write an equation. So again, we want to be writing it in y equals mx plus b here, but they're using d as the distance traveled and in miles after a given number of h hours. So the first thing that we still need to find is the slope and then the y-intercept. And luckily, it's really easy to find the y-intercept because we have that point 0.084. Okay, so we know that's got to be our B value, because if it's 0 for your X value, 84 has to be your Y-intercept. Okay, so now we just need to find our slope, which is the difference in Y over the difference in X. So if we look at our Y values here, okay, the difference in the Y values. So you can pick any two values. I'm going to do 146 minus 84. And that gives me 62, okay, over the difference in X, okay, which would just be 1 minus 0. So I know that my slope is going to be 62. Okay, so now I have my B value, I have my slope, and when I write my equation here, I know that I'm trying to find distance, right? So distance is equal to 62 and then times how many hours plus the 84 miles here. Okay, so the distance traveled is equal to 62 miles per each amount of hours plus the 84 miles, because that's when they started. They were already 84 miles away from home. All right, so if I keep going here, now they're giving me another equation that's representing Hector is keeping track of the remaining gas. So they're saying the gas is equal to 16 minus 1/20th of the distance. So I'm just basically going to use my chart here to figure this out. So when D is 100, right, if I plug that in, 120 times 100 would give me, would give me 5. Okay, so then I would do 16 minus 5 to get 11. Okay, when D is 200, 1/20th times 200 would give me 10. So 16 minus 10 would give me 6. And when I plug in 300, 1/20th of 300 is 15. So 16 minus 15 gives me 1. Okay, so we're just filling in the chart. And then we're going to use that to graph here. So we're just going to plot these points. So we're going to do 100 and then up to 11. We're going to do 200 and then up to 6 and 300 and then at 1 here. Okay, we also know that it was 16 miles here in the beginning. So at 16 gallons of gas in the beginning. Okay, so at 0 miles, they had 16 gallons. All right, so we would just draw our line here. Get your ruler, draw a nice straight line here. Oopsie. All right, and then the last question. Okay, explain why the slope of the line drawn in part C must be negative. So basically, your gas is decreasing, right? So it's going down. Gas is decreasing as you drive more miles. And I'll make my English friends happy and actually make that into a sentence. Okay, so that is the answer key here, and hopefully you did well on it. And if you had any questions, hopefully when watching the video, that helped you figure it out. Hope everybody is doing well, and we will talk to you again soon. Bye.